Hello my beautiful gemstones, welcome back to another video here on the Elegantly Banded YouTube channel. My name is Giselle and this is the first time we're seeing each other face to face. Hi, how are you? I am super excited to be doing content like this. I'm usually just doing little tutorials or hauls, so you guys are not really seeing me, just the stuff I laid out on my table. So this is a new setup for us. Is it weird? But today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my first market of 2025. And more specifically, how I went about preparing for this event. I feel like it can be really nerve-wracking when you're preparing and getting yourself ready for your first event, a first event you haven't done in a while. That's kind of where I'm at. So I want to help beginner crafters, vendors prepare for this moment because it is really, really important to get it right. Now, if you are a seasoned vendor, you've been doing this for a while, you know that everything and anything can go wrong at these events. You can leave something at home, something can break, you have to fix something on the fly, you know, anything could happen, even the smallest little thing. I will say that the event was today that I'm talking about, that I prepared for, and I broke a piece of jewelry while I was putting up my display, which I was like, no. But out of anything and everything that could have gone wrong, that was honestly not that bad. So to make sure that everything went really smoothly, I did a whole bunch of things to get to that point to where, you know, I thought it was going to be a perfect day. And it almost was, which has never happened. I will say one time I forgot one of my displays. I had just purchased a display when it was day of. I forgot it at home. I was so upset, but we improvised. You know, there's a lot of improvising when it comes to this. I will say this is just a guide of what I did, not necessarily all the things you have to do. I'm going to touch a little bit more on how you can establish your business. So there's going to be a lot of things we're going to talk about today. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. I know it's a little different. It's not really a tutorial or haul, but it's a little bit more about the business side of things. I know if you've ever gone to a craft market or fair, it's very easy just to walk in and you're looking at all the cool stuff. Okay, cool. But the work that it takes to get there, to have all your products and have everything priced, have everything organized, have all the displays for everything, and just taking all your stuff there from home to there to back, like it's a lot, you guys. And so there's a lot of things you can miss, very minor details. So let's just get right into it. Getting right into it, I started making jewelry, I believe 3 to 4 years ago. I am not, the lines are very blurred there. I started when I was near the end of high school, so it started as a hobby. Then I was like, oh, I could sell this to people. And then I graduated school and I did college for a little bit, so I just got busy and we fell off really bad. Now that the college life is over for me, I just did 2 years, got an associate's. I really missed making jewelry and doing the events. I knew it was something that I wanted to come back to, which is why we're here. I started this channel and I'm trying to book more events and really get this thing going. So that is probably the number one thing I would ask yourself is, how dedicated to this are you going to be? Is this something you really want to do? Is this something you're just trying out? Because where you're at is going to determine how you go about these next few things. And that was just something I wanted to throw out there, that this has been on and off for me in the past. And now I'm just finally like, okay, let's lock in. When you are starting a small business, it is so important, number one, to know your business name, your brand, have a common theme through your items or your displays. It's just important to really establish that. Like, what is your vibe? What is your aesthetic? Whatever you want to call it. Really think about that. And this is kind of the fun part because this kind of makes everything down the road a little bit easier. For example, I really started this business out on a whim. Like I said, I was in high school and I've had the same name this whole time, Elegantly Banded. I don't know where that came from. I wanted it to represent what I do. You know, people get very creative and other people keep it very simple. So just whatever you want to do. I chose elegantly banded because I was like, yeah, my jewelry is elegant, and I guess I band the crystals together. I don't know. It made sense in my head at the time. Is it a good name? Is it a bad name? Let me know. So next, I would say that you have your business name. You are already doing really, really good. There's a lot of like more legal things you have to do depending on the situation, your business, all of that kind of stuff. So I would look into more of the small business side of stuff if you are really, really wanting to get serious about it. But there's just a whole lot of different things that get into that. So we're just going on the basics in this video. I'm not going to get into depth about how to start it 100%, but definitely establish your business name, and from there create business cards, create maybe a banner for your table, just something with your brand on it. So when people come to your table, they know your name, they know who you are. Business cards, always super easy way to go, but also if you're just beginning, it may be a little bit of a big expense, but I would say it's definitely worth it. People can come by, pick up a card. If they don't buy something, they can always follow you on your social media, look at your website, look at wherever you're doing your business. Why I say do the business card is because this is essentially where you will be choosing your theme. Because when it comes to designing your logo and picking out colors for your brand, this is the fun part. At least it was for me, deciding what do I want people to think of when they hear elegantly banded. You know, I had this very pretty font in my head, and I had wire wrapping around, and that's what I wanted to capture with my logo. And I feel like I did it maybe successfully. It was a really fun project for me to kind of really think about, okay, what is the brand? What am I trying to build off of? So you have to have some kind of starting point. Basically, you just want to let people know who you are. Super, super important when you're thinking about these colors and the way your logo looks, that everything kind of meshes together, that everything looks really good, really consistent. You want it to be pleasing to look at. You don't want things all over the place. I feel like for me, it's very chaotic. It's just like, what's going on here? So pick a theme, colors, you know, fonts that you like, and you're gonna want to continue putting everywhere. I like to use the same fonts when I do things. I like to make sure I'm using the same colors, and it's a color palette that I like, that I'm not going to get tired of seeing, because that's really important. So from doing a few vendor events in the past, I learned quite a few things, and since I took my break and now coming back, there was a whole list of things that I wanted to work on. And this is something that you just learn from event to event. Little things that happen, you're like, oh, okay, next time we need to do this. And so you can learn a lot from experience, but I really wanted to create this video that way people don't have to suffer the way that I did. It's not really suffering, but little mishaps, little mistakes that can easily happen at these events, and the littlest thing can really start off the event on the wrong foot. Really, really think about your display and the items that you're selling, and how, you know, you as a shopper would want to experience it. Like, if you're just seeing everything spread out on the table, like, is that satisfying to you to look at? Do your products work like that? Can people from further away see what your products are on the table? These are questions you kind of want to ask yourself. My previous displays looked very rough. That's the only way I can describe it. For me, it felt like it was a little unorganized, a little hard to see what was what, where things were. I don't know what's happening when I'm looking here, and my head is hurting from looking at everything down at the table. It was just all over the place. So I learned that when you're creating your table setup, you want something that's functional. You want something that's, honestly, in my opinion, easy to transport. You don't want to be carrying 100 things, but you also want something that's going to look good. So that was really, really important for me when I came back to do vendor events for the first time again. I wanted a good display. That was my top priority. And let me tell you guys, I made it happen, because just having people come up to your table and compliment your work because they're able to see it right away, like from afar, like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty, and they're coming over to your table. Amazing. Sometimes when you have items flat on the table, people can't see unless they're like face to face with you. And I almost feel like some people are kind of like intimidated to do that. Like, they don't want to come up to your table. I feel like sometimes it's like no, I feel like I have to buy something. Like, I was nice to you, they were nice to me. Like, okay, take my money. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't want to start that chain reaction there. So they're looking from afar. And you can notice it more at, I think, indoor events, at least for me. People are walking very, very in the middle of the aisles, just kind of browsing everywhere because they don't want to make that contact with the seller, which I think is always really funny, but I catch myself doing that too. So that's why I knew, like, I wanted displays you could see from a little farther away, something that was going to catch your eye, and then, okay, now I'll come up to the table kind of thing. So I did countless research, and this is something that you should definitely do. Look on Pinterest, just Google, whatever you prefer, and look up table displays. Honestly, there's so many great ideas out there, and I found so many that I loved, but I couldn't find where to buy any of these things, and when I did, they were really, really expensive. I just want to say, not expensive that, like, it's not worth the money. It's definitely worth the money, worth the investment, but for where I'm at, I know I'm just starting. I know I cannot afford to take that punch right now of investing all of that money into just one display. So I knew I needed to get a little bit more creative, which is why I want to say thank you to my dad, because he helped me build my dream display. And we spent days on days trying to make this perfect, and it turned out so beautiful. I am so happy with the end result and so thankful that it all came together at the literal last minute. When I tell you guys, we were working on this last night. My event was today. We were working on this yesterday. It's crazy. This was over the span of several days. We laid out the pattern for it. That way we can just trace it on cardboard. We knew the dimensions of everything before we cut the wood. From there we had to sand, and then I stained the wood, and we had to drill holes so that things would fit together. It was just so many steps, you guys. And I'm just so glad it came out the way it did. It looks so beautiful. I'm just very happy because that was one of the main things I really, really, really wanted to do. I wanted to have my ideal perfect setup, and this display was just in my head. I could not get it out of my head. I was like, I made this. It's gonna look so good. And I was so right. It looked amazing. I loved it. I got a few compliments on it, so that was very nice, and it just made me feel really, really proud. And again, it was something that my dad made for me, and I helped him, and it was something we kind of did together, so it just means so much more to me. I ramble a lot, you guys, but I hope you got what I'm trying to say. Make sure your displays are good and eye level, I would say. Definitely focus on eye level, what people can see, just really quick passing by. So next one didn't really apply for my current event that I had today, but I will say if you're doing events outside, some things you need to keep in mind are, if you're getting crazy with your display, do you need electricity? Are you going to need to be by an outlet? You're going to need to remember to ask for electricity. And if you're doing a vendor event that's going to last a long time, do you have lighting for when the sun starts to go down? Because I had an event where they let us stay a little longer than what the end time was. I think it was like around 4, and we ended up staying until like way, way late at night. And I did not have lights for my booth because I was not prepared. Now that I went through that experience of trying to sell my stuff in the dark and having my phone flashlight on, I have invested in getting lights for my tent. And I will definitely shout out my boyfriend here because he was the one that bought the lights. So they have a magnetic bag that you can stick onto your tent, and it's just amazing. So I haven't gotten the chance to use them, but next event I do outside, I will be prepared with lights. So very, very blessed. Do not make that mistake, because I did that and it was fun. It was a fun experience, but I would not want to do that again. I have another list here. I have like a list of like things I wanted to mention. I do have product displays. We kind of talked about that. Make sure your things look nice. You can see them. Eye level. Make sure your table's organized. I used to have I feel like when I first did my tables, they were very overstimulating. There was a lot going on and it was kind of hard to focus. And definitely with the event that I did today, it was kind of the same thing. We only had room for one table, so everything had to be like crammed, but you always make do with what you got. And I try to section things off, that way, you know, it's clear where some of the things are. I do want to talk a little bit about pricing. When I first started, I had prices on nothing. No prices on anything. I had these little cards, but people were not reading them. So everyone had to ask me, oh, what's the price of this? What's the price of that? I've learned that some people will not want to ask that question. So now every item is priced with either a sticker, a tag, something around the area having the price listed, just so people know up front what it is. You know, you don't have someone getting excited like, oh, I love this, how much is it? Oh, I'm not gonna get that. You know, like, I feel like that's always awkward. I've had that happen, and someone actually said that's not worth that. So yeah, I put the price on everything now. Everything has a price, and I don't want to have that awkward conversation with anybody where they don't think my work is worth what I'm charging. And I will say again, if you do vendor events, if you don't do vendor events, there's a lot that goes into doing a market, and when you do your first one, you'll really be overwhelmed. But that's why I'm here. I'm trying to help you guys. But I can make a better detailed video at a later time, really getting into all the specific steps that I do. This is kind of a general overview. You will not know what it takes to do a market and all the work that goes into it until you do it yourself. I think a lot of people don't understand that. You know, you're making the products, you're organizing everything, you're taking pictures of things, you're doing your marketing, you're trying to promote yourself, you're creating your brand, you're buying extra things to make the customer experience better. I have little bags, I have little boxes, I have all this stuff to make sure that my customer has a good experience. And, you're not just paying for the item, you're paying for the time I put into it. You're paying for my market fee to even be here at the event. There's so many things that go into it. And again, I could talk about that in a whole nother video, which is a whole nother thing. But I wanted to touch on that briefly about pricing. Always charge what you are worth. Don't underprice yourself. I will say, when you are doing markets, make sure you have a wide range of prices. So make sure you have something on the lower end and something on the higher end and something in the middle. That way there's something for everybody. If you're doing markets that are during the day, on the weekends, there's a high chance there's going to be kids around and they're going to want to pick out stuff. I always see crafters, makers who are doing items that are very kid oriented, and they always do really well because they're marketing for these kids. The prices are a little bit lower. They're fun little toys, knickknacks, So I try to also do that. Again, I'm a jewelry business, so I try to make little bracelets that will fit a little hand, make them colorful, make them not so expensive as my other stuff. That way they can be like, oh, hey, I want this. Oh, okay, that's not that bad. We'll take it. Just something to think about. Price for everybody. So there is a lot to be said about the customer to seller interaction. I think that's something that I really wanted to improve on also, because when I first started, I was, oh my gosh, 17, 18? I don't know. To me, I was just a kid. Mentally, I was a kid. So I was very awkward, very shy when I first started making my jewelry. So it was really hard to talk to people. I would get kind of nervous and I was really quiet. If you're a younger seller, I'm going to say that's only going to work for so long. You have to be very nice, very charismatic, very open to talking about your product and really pushing your product. You can't sit there and just you got to be a little bit more energized. And I try to gauge where people are at, just because some people might be more talkative than others. So I always try to gauge that and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk to them a little bit more, or you know what, I'm going to let them do their own thing. I always try to pick up the vibe. I don't know how great I am with that. I like to let people browse, just because me as a shopper, I don't like to be bombarded with questions or information about the product. Like, I just want to look, and then if I have a question, I'll ask you. So that's kind of how I am as a shopper. So I never really am like, oh, this is this, and I made it out of this, and this is where this came from. And I don't really do that unless they start to ask. Then we have the back and forth. Just because I feel like sometimes when you come on too strong, people kind of push back. So I just try to be neutral and interact when I'm interacted with. I'm always friendly. I try to say hi to them, especially if we make eye contact, like, hi, how are you? Good, yada yada, and then they get to look. And then if they have a question, more than happy to answer, of course. I always try to do something with my hands when I'm there. So taking some things to work on when you're at these markets, super nice, and you're passing time a little bit faster. Unfortunately for me, it's a little hard sometimes because there's so many things that I want to work on, and I have a great setup at home with all my stuff. So there's only so much I can take. And typically at events, I am doing custom orders. I like to do wire wrapped rings, and so it really adds to the experience. You can pick out your crystal, you can pick out your wire, we're going to size for you. You know, it's just a whole experience that you're selling. I love it. Unfortunately, at this event today, I wasn't able to do that because I didn't have my whole table space. It was not going to work. I made a bunch of rings in advance. That way everything was there and people can kind of browse, and if they wanted a different size, I did have it for them. Even if you're not doing custom orders there, just because that can be a lot, especially if you're the only person managing your booth. Usually I take a family member or my boyfriend, so I always have a little extra help. Bring some projects, work on something. I always feel like it gives off a weird vibe if you're on your phone and you ignore your customer. Like, just be friendly, you know what I mean? So yeah, preparing for these events takes a lot of work. There's a lot of things to think about, especially if you're just starting. We talked about establishing your brand, your name, your colors, your theme, you know, your font, how you want to present yourself. If you're doing a table cover, business cards, something with your name on it, you know, a lot of things to think about just right there. And then you're getting into product. Obviously, if you're having a business idea, I feel like you know what your product is, so I didn't really touch too much on that. But when it comes to your products, you know, you want to make sure you have something that's going to be suitable for a lot of different types of people, and there's different price ranges, different color options, yada yada. Those are things I like to think about. Getting more into it, making sure that your display looks good. You know, these are your products, but I think what really helps your products sell is how you display them. A little special thing that I always like to do is to wear my products. I have one of my crystal rings on, crystal necklace, these fun little choker necklaces that I actually made just recently. They're very, very simple. I sell them on the lower end, that way it's something really quick anybody can pick up. And I have my earrings on. So it's free advertisement, you know, you are wearing your product, and I think it kind of builds trust that, hey, I like my products. I will wear them. And I don't know, I think it's just really fun and special when you wear your products or you have it on display in some type of way. I also have phone charms that I do that are really cool, if you can see it. I always love to have my things on display for people to see. There was so much product that I had to make and start over from scratch, basically, because I took such a long break. I spent a lot of time making old styles of things and making some new styles. I was really nervous about not having enough product, and it's kind of that imposter syndrome of like, am I really doing this? Like, do people like this? Like, do I deserve to be here right now? It's always really weird. I always feel like I try to overcompensate for that by like having so much variety with my product. You know, I have rings, I have earrings, necklaces, bracelets, keychains, phone charms, you know, different styles of everything. I almost feel like I do too much. I feel like I need to niche down a little bit more. I think that's kind of my next goal, is to really figure out what does really, really well and build off of that. I already established that the rings that I do, people really love. It's something that's usually really, really good sell point for me, but it just depends on the market. Like I said today, the rings were not the best sellers. It was actually my pendants, because I had them on this beautiful display right in front. So when someone would buy one, I'd swap it out with a new one. So that was really, really cool, because I had never really been able to sell those before. I made those such a long time ago, and they're so beautiful. I almost just kept them all for me. It was super nice to see those finally get sent off to a new home. Yeah, this was a really, really fun month for me preparing for this event. I had so much to do, and I somehow magically pulled it off. Like, all the things got made, my display got made, was able to organize and pull everything together. Like, I don't know how that happened. I still cannot believe it. But I do have a few clips from today of my event. Table is all done. Here's how it turned out. Super, super happy with it. Okay, we are 40 minutes into the fair and not a lot of traffic yet, so I'm hoping it picks up a little bit. We'll see. Right now, I'm just sitting here making some jewelry. This is the view.
In the stopper just in case, especially if you're in the cars. Yeah. So you can always put the stopper back in.
So yeah, I know
Okay, it is 3 or 2:30. It is 2:30. They're shutting down early, so we're packing up.
What's up?
I'm talking to myself.
Oh, again?
Yes, again. Here.
What? Say hi. Hi. What?
Yeah, so they are closing early. It was supposed to end at 4, but now it is ending at 3. So I'm packing up some of my things just to get a head start, but overall, we profited. We profited. Not significantly, but a win is a win. And I have had worse. So this was pretty good. It was worth it, I would say. And it was fun. So I'm happy, and I got to try out my new display, which was really fun. I worked so hard on it, so I'm just glad that it all came together, and it looks really nice. I'm really, 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 really happy with it. But I'm gonna pack now, and yeah. Okay, so here is the display at the end. We sold a few earrings and a few pendants actually, which is really cool. I was swapping them out from here. I laid out some more bracelets, these little crystal ones, but for the most part we still have everything. But again, the display came out lovely. But it was just a really small market, so wasn't a lot of opportunity for traffic. Overall, I would say it was a 10 out of 10, so I'm happy. To recap the market, it was a very, very long day. The turnout was not that great, which it was okay. I just felt like I put so much in to this market. All the preparation with the products and the display, I just felt so overwhelmed all month because I wanted today to be perfect, just to not have a great turnout. It was like, no. Partly, I think it's due to the weather. It was kind of a gloomy, rainy day today, which, in all fairness, if I didn't have to do the event, I would have been cozy in bed all day. So I can't blame them for not coming. There was still decent turnout. I did okay. A few family members and friends came by, so it was worth it because they stopped by, and it was just really exciting for them to have a peek into my world of jewelry making, because it's not something that I talk about a lot. Like this event I was promoting because it was my first event in a long time, and I knew that if I wanted traffic at my table, I was gonna have to reach out to the loved ones. I'm really happy that I did this event today because it really got me back into the motions of doing these events, because it does take a lot. If it's your first time doing one of these events, be very, very easy and gentle on yourself. Try not to stress yourself out. And for you guys, I have a few quick tips. My biggest piece of advice probably is definitely set up your display beforehand. It makes it so much easier when you set up your display. That way you have everything pieced together. You know where everything's gonna go. You know maybe, oh, I need more of this product right now because I thought I had enough, but I don't. Like, set everything out. And this can be like months before your event or days before your event. Something that's gonna give you time to do what you need to do, because I set up my table and I was just adding to it, making sure that I had a full stacked table that looked great. And it makes it so much easier when you can see everything visually rather than making lists, checking it off in your head, whatever, picturing it in your head. Lay it out. Practice putting your stuff away, putting it back up, putting it away. That way, it makes the whole process a lot smoother. That's just what I like to do. Make lists of everything. Take inventory of all your products. Make sure you have clear descriptors for your products in your own personal bookkeeping, however you do it, and really, really get to know your products. Make sure your prices are where they should be. Do some research, checking where, items similar to yours are selling, what they're selling for. Are people liking it? Do they buy them? Is it a popular product? All of that. Look into it. Take your inventory. That way before your event, you know what you started with, and you can look and see, oh, this is what did really well today, or this did not do so well. And then you can cross-reference it with more events that you do. List everything that you need to take to the event. I have a list of all of my display pieces, and I checked everything off as I put them into the box. Make sure you check off your inventory. Did you pack everything? Double, triple check. And lastly, just things you need to function at your market, like your packaging. How are you giving your customers their product? Are you just handing it to them? Are you giving it in bags? Are you giving them business cards? You know, make sure you have all of that. How are you taking payment? Do you have change for cash? Are you taking cards? Do you have all of that set up? There's a lot of behind the scenes things that you need to do to make sure it's going to run smoothly. Always pack some extra things, tape, scissors, extra paper, whatever, I don't know. You'll learn more at these events. There's usually not a lot of things I need on the fly. Today a woman needed duct tape. I don't carry duct tape, but I felt very bad because she needed it. I'm just saying, you never know what you're gonna need, and that's an example of it. She didn't think she was gonna need it, and then she's there like looking for duct tape from everybody. So, you know, it happens. Another important thing is pack snacks, pack drinks, because you're gonna get hungry and you're gonna get thirsty. And typically I spend more money on food and drinks than I do when I go shopping at the other vendors. It's so embarrassing. Today is market day. Everything is loaded up. We had to stop and get food. Yeah, I packed nothing today. I did not make my coffee this morning, so I spent money on breakfast. I spent money on coffee. I got a second coffee throughout the day, and I got a little lunch at the place I was at. Like, I spent so much money on food today, you guys. It was ridiculous. It's all part of the experience though. See, learn from me. Pack your food, save your money. And finally, make sure you're having fun. Make sure you're doing something that you love. You know, if you're a maker and this is something you want to do for a long time, make the things you love. I love making jewelry. I love seeing the face on people when they try something on, or they're like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, I have to have it. Like, it's just so rewarding, and I love it. I love it every time. You know, the rest just falls into place. It's easier. It makes every other part of this easier because the reward is so nice. It's just important that you're doing what you love and you're having fun. You know, you don't want to burn yourself out. You have to have fun. You have to enjoy what you're doing. So that's really, really important. Lastly, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. This was maybe a long video. I don't know. I yapped for a really, really, really long time. So I'm sorry, but I was just super excited to talk about this event, and I had a very loose script of what I wanted to talk about, so I was probably all over the place. Hopefully in editing, I clean it up a little bit for you. That is all for today's video. I am going to leave you guys be. I'm going to stop yapping, but I hope you enjoyed this video and the little glimpse into what it takes to do a market. I couldn't think of the word and I was like, what? Anyways, yes, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye, guys.